Hey everybody, welcome to another Stuff Sketched with Gregg Schigiel. I'm Gregg Schigiel. So this episode is a departure from the past shows. On this one, I'm not doing a superhero drawing. I'm not doing an action pose. Well, right now, you can see I'm drawing, well maybe you don't know what it is, but I'm drawing a head. A head from the front. This episode I am answering a question that I got during a school visit recently. The question from a student they were either in 7th or 8th grade, was how do you avoid or how do you stop facial sameness, I believe was the expression she used. The question being, when you're drawing different people, different faces, how do you avoid those faces looking the same? Because basically when you're drawing, you're simplifying things, noses, eyes, mouths, that sort of thing. And I answered, well, first, I thought it was a great question. It showed me that this was somebody that actually was drawing and thinking about the kinds of things they were drawing. And I answered the question by saying that basically to draw different faces, you have to pay attention to different faces, different features, the way people, well, are different, and keep those things in mind and apply them to drawing. So what I thought I would do for this episode is show that in practice in a capacity. So what I've done here is I'm drawing a very, very basic head shape. Now, out of the gate, I can tell you I picked just one ear size. Obviously, ear sizes can change as much as features can, but I'm going with a very simple head, and now I'm using the digital technology to create duplicates, multiples, not duplicates, more than two, multiples of that head. What's happening here is this is all being done in Clip Studio Paint. So the power of digital manipulation. So now that I have this template down, I'm going to go in closer and start drawing in features. I forgot what I was just talking about, but basically, oh yeah, I've drawn very basic heads, bald heads, and male heads at the moment. There are an entirely other set of features that could be female or female identified features, but for the sake of this, where every head is going to be bald, I'm sticking with what might be generally considered male features. You can see the structure of these heads. It's all going to be the same. Center line, a line for where the eyes go, a line for where the nose lands, and a line for where the mouth sits. There'll be some variation, you'll notice, but for the most part, I'm keeping to those structural locations, again, to illustrate how you can take one head and apply numerous different faces to it. Again, mostly in every case, the attempt is to draw different eyes, eyebrows, nose, mouth. And then in some cases, even the way I'm adding lines or shading to the chin or cheeks will also vary. So already between these two, you can see a different nose shape. And now the eyes, instead of being, I guess what would be a trapezoid shape on the left, now we're going something more like a quadrilateral, because it wouldn't be a rhombus. A rhombus, all sides are equal. But for those of you who are remembering your geometry lessons, there's some shape dynamics for you. Here, more rounded eyebrows, as opposed to the blocky or angled ones on the left. So what becomes interesting, maybe not, is even with this, with each of these heads, you can then, maybe you had these, maybe you have them still, the kind of, I don't know if game is the right word, or toy or what, but it would be these things where there'd be a head, a body, and legs, and then you could interchange those different things. So it'd have head of a robot, body of a dragon, legs of a robot. I don't know. So you could sort of do that with what I'm doing here. You can start swapping out the eyes on the right with the nose on the left and the mouth from the previous figure or previous head, and you'd get yet another face. So here I'm going rounder, and I guess what you might call sadder eyes. Something worth noting, may or may not be relevant, is as I was drawing these heads, um, I was really determining each feature as I got to it. So, like in this one, I drew the eyes, and then I did not think about what the rest of it was going to be until I got to that point. For better or worse, uh, I don't know, but I think it's sort of interesting that I was really trying to improvise as much as possible, adding lines here and there in the hopes that it would work. And here you see I'm cleaning up this nose a little bit because I wasn't liking it. Even the bridges of the nose, wider, narrower, etc. But a lot of this comes from, some of it is observation. You're looking at other people, but then also it's just manipulating shapes of things. A nose can be a lot of different shapes, eyes can be different shapes, and even without specifically thinking of, oh, these are eyes like this person's eyes, you can just easily say, these are narrower eyes, these are rounder eyes, these are angled eyes, what have you. I think the key, though, is to try and stay away from things that are caricature to the degree that they could be offensive. Everything being drawn here is being drawn in what I would call a comic book style. I suppose it might be of value to do another one of these using much more cartoony shapes and lines. Basically doing faces on circles. If you look at things on TV, cartoons on TV, something like Phineas and Ferb, or something like, I don't know, what's another example of a cartoon with human, Loud House, or whatnot. Like those are all faces. They're cartoon faces, but they do start to look different if you manipulate the shapes, sizes, things of that nature. And for that matter, even, again, head shape and all that can have an effect. For this particular exercise, as previously mentioned, all the heads are the exact same size. But by now you've seen some of these noses are coming to a point. Some of them you see the nostrils, some you don't. In this instance, I'm drawing a slightly open mouth because some people in their resting position, that's how their mouths work. So yeah, maybe I'll do some more of these with either different approaches to drawing, something cartoonier than this kind of comic book style. Maybe something showing profiles, because these are all obviously direct, straight shots of faces, and profiles give you a completely different dynamic, and you can do all kinds of other things from a side view of a person's head or face. In these drawings, as I mentioned, there's going to be no hair. Hair would also add a dynamic and change the look of these things, but the initial question was about facial sameness, so I'm sticking to faces. And even then, no facial hair. You'll see. I'm spoiling the next two faces, or even this one for that matter, but no facial hair in these either, which is another way to add. Actually, I don't think there's facial hair. Maybe there is on the last face and I don't remember it, but I don't think there's any facial hair. I'm about to find out right along with you. But in terms of faces, we're just going for different stuff. Different shaped lips, different size lips, different shaped noses, different size noses. And you can see every one of these faces, despite the original material, as in the original structural material, being the same. There's variance. Going back to something I talked about in the earlier videos, where I use my metaphor of baking. Think of it as all of these heads are off the same base recipe, right? It's the same initial ingredients, a head. I mean, it's literally the exact same head shape. And then each one of these is an eye, eyebrows, eyes, nose, and mouth. But using different amounts in the recipe, and each one of these things, if it's a cake, is being frosted differently. I think I mixed up several metaphors, several cooking and food related metaphors in that, but I think you follow. I hope you follow me in what I'm talking about. How you draw the eyelids, how you draw, you know, where and when you place lines and wrinkles. You can make older faces, younger faces. Again, these are all adult faces. So if you start getting into a child's face, even the proportions change. Um, this one has hardly any lips. The face to the left, I added a little cleft in the chin. That's another, small feature that distinguishes one face from another. And here's the last one, which I cannot remember if this has facial hair or not, because I drew this a while ago, and now I'm doing the commentary without remembering what the final head looked like. Now looking at it, this one does not have facial hair, clearly, as I'm drawing the mouth without a mustache or beard. Something else missing from any of these is glasses. You throw glasses on any one of these faces, and it can look different. I mean, Clark Kent / Superman has gotten away with it for years, making himself look like two different people, merely by adding a pair of glasses and a slightly different haircut. Maybe he slouches more as Clark Kent. This one I've gone with a broader, unified eyebrow situation. But yeah, so once I finish this face off, I'll zoom back out and you'll see all 8 of these faces. But there you go, the same structural components, the same pieces. Well, same structural components, different pieces, and you get different faces. Now I'm going and adding necks, and you can see that even different shape and width of neck can also, you can vary all of this stuff, and all of these pieces help make people, fictional people that you're making up, look like different people. The amount of wrinkles or lines. Looking at this drawing now, several of these characters I could have added forehead wrinkles, and I'm surprised that they're not, especially this guy whose neck I'm drawing right now. Although with him, I'm going to give him he's got a little bit of a slouch. Like his neck is not as, what's the word I'm looking for? Straight up and down? I don't know if that's the right word. And there you go, 8 faces, all using your same original head. Thanks for watching. That's about all the stuff I have left to say. See you next time.